All systems go. I am back from the gym. What a wonderful way to start the day. I highly recommend it. I may have a slightly new schedule for me. Shouldn't make any difference to you. Welcome back, everyone. Artist Journal, March 2nd, 2023. Broadcasting to the world from a sunny Berlin, Germany. Another sunny day. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and I welcome you back. It is astonishing, again, and I've said it many times, the amount that happens in this space. I mean, you could fill a newspaper. And it's not just the art, it's everything. The art is astonishing, though, like this piece here, which we'll look at in a second. I believe it's an AI piece. So, it's kind of interesting to see AI do gradients, isn't it? It seems to be pretty good at the gradients, and this doesn't look like a human hand is responsible. Maybe there were edits. I mean, shall we look? See if we can get any info on this. If I can get this to work. Here we go. Marco NFT Paris. Let's get this up here. Marco NFT Paris GM. Pearl earring with a girl. Interesting. Isn't it Girl with Pearl Earrings? The original, coming tomorrow on Foundation. This was posted yesterday. So today on Foundation, you can bid on this beautiful, beautiful piece here by Marco. Maybe Marco DeAngelis here. Super cool. So anyway, AI continues to turn our head over here. Thank you to everybody who came out yesterday. That was a very fun and very cool Rug Radio Artist Journal Twitter Spaces. It was really interesting. You just never know what's going to appear. And we talked a lot about photography, which is definitely not my forte. It's just one of those things. It's just not my forte. And I was thrilled to hear from people because I learned a ton. And again, MVP. We had Lily Illo from Australia, the AI artist, chime in at the end. And I was thrilled to hear from her. And there were several people that we heard from just on who some of their heroes of the imagination are. And it was Mars was mentioning William Blake. And also we were talking about just the TikTokization of, what I call the TikTok effect, where, MVP teaches, I guess teenagers in Bangkok and how, they're thrilled, interestingly, they are thrilled to slow down. To slow down and actually discuss photography and everything that might be going on, because they're constantly just going from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. You wonder if it's good for the brain. I mean, I've just kind of loaded up TikTok for the first time in a while just to put out, a short of Go-Go Lightus there. I'm going to put out more of these things, time permitting, but I can't wait to do that. And you do wonder, is this good for the brain? Because maybe it's good to focus. Right? It seems like the exact opposite of, the hunt. When you're out in the wilderness and you need to focus on the prey. This is the exact opposite. And where will this end up? Just some tantalizing thoughts for you. So anyways, thank you everybody who came out. And it was a very fun episode. And, it just goes to show, to me, one of the takeaways is how sophisticated, basically, so many people are out there. It's, certain people get put on pedestals out in this world. And frankly, let's say just in the art scene or contemporary art world, as we've all, in the last 30 years or however long you've been paying attention, And I just think when I hear from these people on Twitter Spaces who might not have the same recognition as a Gagosian artist, but I hear what they have to say, frankly, if it was another alternate reality and I found out that they were an artist at Gagosian, I wouldn't be shocked by the quality, my perception of the quality of what they're saying. So that is kind of one of the big takeaways for me, doing these Twitter Spaces is, I kind of suspected it, but actually the depth really does, it does surprise me a bit. And it just goes to show how sophisticated basically everybody is out there. And not everybody, but a lot of people are. So then you get back to, well, why is this person at Gagosian and this person isn't? And then just how, it kind of comes back to the marketing of things, and on I could go. But anyways, it continues to be interesting out there. And thank you everybody who came out and spoke and just showed up to listen. It's always appreciated. Big correction. Hilarious correction today from my personal perspective. It is not the Nimrod palette, as I was saying yesterday. It is the Narmer palette. King Narmer, who I believe is considered the first pharaoh of ancient Egypt. And I did get the dates right, though. 3200 to 3000 BC is when this very, very famous work was made. You'll often see this at the start of art history textbooks. Bob Breyer, who has an excellent course on the Great Courses, what used to be the Teaching Company, actually it's now Wondrium. There's an excellent kind of low resolution, because it came from like the early 90s, late 80s. What is it? I think it's just called Ancient Egypt or something like this. And there's a quote from Bob Breyer. I watched that series actually probably more than any other Great Courses, like 3 or 4 times. It is outstanding. And as you see here, if you can see that, Bob Breyer has referred to the Narmer palette as the first historical document in the world. Okay, and this is about the king who unified Upper and Lower Egypt, and basically one of the big takeaways here. So here is King Narmer with the crown of either Upper or Lower Egypt, and here's with the other crown, as you can see. So it's depicting this king with both crowns. So super interesting. So anyways, we were discussing that yesterday. It is not the Nimrod palette, it is the Narmer palette. And I think that more or less covers it. I think that basically covers it. We have a lot to go through, but you should know what that is. And I highly recommend Bob Breyer's course here from the Teaching Company. I'll very quickly show it to you. TTC, History of Ancient Egypt, the Great Courses. This is a must. If you're interested in this sort of thing, this, my friends, is a must. So you can do that for 12 pounds. This is not a sponsorship. Continuing on, just to kind of, don't want to get too far into news stories here, but this one is big. Why Warhol images are making museums nervous. This is the New York Times on a different website here. And what happened here, so this is a Warhol of prints, right? And it's 3 paragraphs that we got to pay attention to here. Immediately clear after the stunning death of Prince at age 57 in 2016 was that the world had lost a brilliant artist. What has taken years to unfold from a magazine cover to the Supreme Court is a debate over creativity and free expression that has been framed as an existential fight for art itself. The feud began in 2016 when the Warhol Foundation licensed an image of Prince to Condé Nast for a special magazine commemorating the musician's death. Lynn Goldsmith, whose photograph had served as Warhol's template decades earlier, objected because she had licensed the picture for one-time use. The foundation then sued her, the Warhol Foundation, asking for a judgment that Warhol's changes to the photograph were transformative and should be considered fair use. And so one court agreed, but then an appeals court did not. Now it's going to the Supreme Court. So if this, fair use is pretty huge, especially in American art, basically. Like in Germany, it's super strict. If you have even this is not legal advice, but from my understanding, if you have even like a square centimeter of someone else's work in your work, that can be identified as their work. And again, I'm not a legal expert, but I did get a consultation because I deal with a lot of appropriation in my art. In Germany, that is a copyright violation, whereas in the US, it is much more lax. So then it becomes about jurisdiction and where is your work being shown. Oh, it's Super Rare is based out of the US, so you're okay, Pocobelli. But if Super Rare was based out of Germany, you might have a problem. That sort of thing. So anyways, this is a big deal because it is and it isn't. Like, it's a big deal from a legal perspective because it could, museums are getting nervous here, rightly so, because if they lose this, this could change a lot of things. I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to keep doing. And if that means I can't sell my work, then it means I can't sell my work. Like it's sort of like the art kind of comes first over here. And nobody wants their work copied and sold as someone else's. So I understand that too. So it really does, come down to the transformative aspect of fair use, which I think it's a really good law. I think it's a really well-crafted law that allows artists to, frankly, appropriate as long as they change the work. I think it's like one of those rare cases of brilliant law coming from our legislators. Okay, so look at this. Rare had a massive sale here, 10.5 ETH. Which is, for those that aren't following the ETH price, that's probably close to $16,000 for his one-of-one work. We were looking at this, 48 hours ago? Well, that's what happened. 48 hours later, it is a $16,000 sale. And of course, Rare just had his account suspended. And that was part of the work here. Thank you, really all I can say, thank you. After what happened last night, I hit my all-time high. I'm hesitant to post anything about it, because last time his account was suspended, but I need to say thank you to all those who bid and those who believe in me and enjoy my work. Nice comment there. Please, sir, don't suspend me. So anyways, big congrats to Rare. That was awesome. Who was on a Twitter Spaces only like 6 weeks ago, so that's pretty exciting. And those will be, I already have a couple, and I'm working on the Spotify thing. I have my old sort of podcast stuff on Spotify. I'm actually I have a meeting with someone hopefully today, figuring out how to sort everything out, because the new stuff isn't showing up. So I'm still working that out. And this was also interesting what Rare had to say here. I was originally worried the last few auctions that it was a fluke. I mean, this is a common feeling that artists have, that maybe two collectors decide to get into a bidding war, and that was a one-off, and that my one-of-ones had a false inflation to them. Perhaps imposter syndrome kicked in hard. I mean, I think a lot of people, when you have a big sale, you start to wonder, well, maybe that was just a one-off. Thank you for proving that wrong, because he's getting bids from all sorts of collectors. And finally, thank you again. This is just the start of many starts and failures and setbacks. Exactly. Great attitude, but all that matters is that you keep going on. Some of the best advice I ever got: mint less, take your time, and get so good that they can no longer ignore you. Yeah, David Hickey, I mentioned on 30 or 40 episodes ago, David Hickey, the great art historian out of Texas, referring to Robert Rauschenberg, had this great line, undeniable is undenied. Right? And when Rare says, get so good they can no longer ignore you, that's what I hear. That's what echoes in my mind, is undeniable is undenied. Make your work undeniable, and it will be undenied. According to the great art historian David Hickey, may he rest in peace. I think he passed away a couple of years ago. So this story here, this thread that we are following with Pablo Picasso, who threw down the gauntlet the other day on Super Rare, said, I'm coming for you, to paraphrase. Well, this, it even goes beyond curation here. This is almost starting a gallery, a digital art gallery. We add our first new artist to Picasso World, Pablo Picasso's project here, tomorrow. 0009 is releasing Immersive 8, so we know 0009 as an AI artist, I believe, or an artist that does AI work. As Lily Illo was saying, I'm an artist that does AI work. I don't consider myself an AI artist. Fair enough. And I think that's a nice qualification there. But when I saw this, I thought to myself, this is more like a gallery, adding an artist, and okay, sure, it's just one work, so maybe that puts it more in the land of curation, but it feels almost like a gallery situation here. Maybe one work at a time, and that almost, so Foundation, with this opening up of curation, and I don't see any other platform doing that. Again, we looked at the thread yesterday from Pablo Picasso, and it's watch this space. My antennae are, they're fully up on this whole situation here. This is super interesting. Okay. And I was approached by someone who's also doing curating, and like, oh, you want to be in a show? So again, it sounds like anybody can just do this and say, hey, I'm going to put together some work. I could do it. And isn't that cool? So very cool. Now, simultaneously, meanwhile, surprisingly, so Object One has finally launched, and interestingly, it's actually kind of in the opposite direction. It is more, this is more closed. As far as I understand, and maybe I don't understand anything about this, but just from what I gather here. So this finally launched yesterday, a collection of curated one-of-one artists by artists from across the globe, and experience the future of art. So here it is, and yeah, so this launched simultaneously to Art Dubai, which you may have seen in your Instagram feed. And yeah, so it seems to me, if I had to theorize on what's happening here, it seems to me like they're trying to create a platform that will appeal to the contemporary art world, right? So here is that seems to be, if I had to guess, that's their motivation. Hey, let's make something really special that will appeal to the contemporary art world. That's kind of just, here's something super curated for you, and then you guys can pick from here. I do wonder, though, and you see it here, like it's on object.com's homepage, and so they have it here, and then they have it here, and they also have Object One here. And I do wonder, just from a consumer perspective, this is just thoughts I had to myself, and feel free, anybody and everybody, to disagree. We're actually going to see some disagreement on Twitter here. But it seems to me that it weirdly, and I think unintentionally, it seems to be almost undermining a little bit, feel free to, again, agree or disagree with me here, Object. Because all of a sudden there's two Object platforms, and it's like, this is the super good one, and then this is the one, with everybody, right? And again, feel free to disagree. So I wonder, just strategically, from just like a business perspective, business strategy perspective, I'm not sure if that's what they intended. Because I think, again, probably, if I had to guess, they're just thinking, hey, how do we, appeal to the contemporary art world? But it does seem to slightly bring down the level of Object itself and say, hey, this is the really good art you're going to find on Object One, and then everything else will be here. So, and then even object.com is sending everybody to Object One. So it's kind of an interesting situation. And August Ground has put out several tweets, and I was joking to myself, like, if I ran a newspaper, maybe I should. That's probably what I should be doing with my life, but I'm an artist doing crazy YouTube videos. But if I'll read you this, and then I'll tell you what I was thinking to myself. August Ground. So Object One is a hyper-exclusive playground for a handful of people. Am I missing the boat here? It could simply be a platform running alongside Object that lists one-of-ones from all artists, and if you sync it, it shows the one-of-ones in your collection. This would benefit everyone. So, a little bit of criticism here from August Ground. And that is kind of a cool idea, where you could see all your one-of-ones together. That I would love to see that. So interesting ideas here. And he had a few tweets, and I'm only just picking a handful here. I hope the team didn't miss the boat here. If when you sync to the site, it lists all your one-of-ones in the collection, that would be genius. It is quite brilliant idea, August. Thus affording other collectors opportunity to see one-of-ones from all artists on Tezos, it would benefit everyone. So I think August Ground is a little concerned that, I guess I'm sure most of the people who have seen this, there is probably a sense of it being exclusionary, right? Or at least, there's, Yeah, like let's just look. There's one, instead of yet another site curated by gatekeepers who control the public, i.e., curators, the public should promote to ones on the site by virtue of buying them. It's so obvious. And this is the thing. It's like we're going to the land of gatekeepers. Put it this way. Let me just rephrase this. If we're going to have gatekeepers on the new Object One platform, it does seem to, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to undermine the whole ethos of Object, which is that it's an open platform, which has served it so well. Like, you could argue, like, in a sense, like Object, as particularly last year, could have been left for dead, while, you know, Super Rare, like, in a sense, everything was in the sails of Super Rare. Like, the wind was in the sails of Super Rare, but it was by virtue of it being an open platform on Object that you had, arguably, what I call a Cambrian explosion. That's happened there the last, you know, maybe 2 years now. And so it seems to undermine that whole thing. And I don't think it's intentional. I don't think they're thinking, hey, we want to be gatekeepers here. I don't think. I mean, it's possible. I think, again, they probably have their eyes set on the contemporary art world and going, okay, how do we kind of, quote unquote, clean this up so that we can just give them the creme de creme, all right? And so, anyways, so as I was saying, if I ran a newspaper here, I would say, all right, August, can somebody get a hold of this guy? I want like 1,000 words from August Ground. Give me an op-ed. This is like, just give him some money, and we want an op-ed for the paper. Because this guy's kind of, I think he's saying certain things that maybe a lot of people are feeling, but don't want to really get out there and publicly shout out, right? This is a community, right? And speaking of the community, I mean, our curatorial approach is centered around putting diversity and community first. Like, I think this might ring hollow for a lot of people, you know, to be super blunt about it. I think that might really, but maybe. So I think everybody is always quick to rush to judgment. Maybe August is rushing to judgment. I think it's very important that everybody just has an open mind and a lot of patience, and just understand everybody's just doing the best they can and making the best decisions they can that they think, you know, is best. So anyways, let's see how it all plays out. There is a very strong push here. But I mean, yeah, there are a lot of questions that come up. And this was another interesting statement here from Simone Pompey, kind of relating. One thing I appreciated was the board system at Versum implemented, which is another Tezos platform. So Object is on Tezos, and Versum is another platform, not as big, where anyone can curate a board. I forgot about that. Maybe we need something similar on Tezos, Solana, and Ethereum. So this whole curation issue, it's coming to the fore, isn't it? It's kind of starting to really boil to the surface here. And I think if, you know, right now, from I'm an artist, my opinion, which is worth, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Foundation here, with their open curatorial tools, you know, went from being arguably almost left for dead a year ago until they opened things up. And now I kind of think, in a weird way, they have everything to gain right now. Foundation has everything to gain. You get good money for your work. It's taken seriously by collectors, and the curatorial platform is open to anybody that wants to curate. I mean, it's kind of everything that everybody wants. So, you know, and finally on this whole front, I mean, I've probably been 2 years in crypto now. How long has it been? 2020 in the fall is kind of August 2020 is when I started to take it seriously. Where are we now? Two and a half years. I mean, geez. What I've learned in crypto is things can change. Things move at hyper speed. So yeah, so maybe I'll just leave it there. Things can really change quickly. So, I mean, does Versum have all the, you know, works from Object on its platform? Anyways, let's get to the art here. Actually, we have a couple of more things. So Uxine's Tez vending machine takeover is continuing here. Uxine art for the event. The pieces are minted, and I wanted to dig into Uxine's work a bit. Pieces that are timely focused on themes like the digital era, impermanence, and death. So anyways, all to say, this is still happening. I think it's going on for another few hours here. But barely any time left on this, by the time you're watching this. This is just something I wanted to point out, which was the music. I didn't realize. I wonder if Uxine made the music for this, because Uxine is a bit of a, as he's mentioned, a bit of an acid house guy. I don't know if you'd consider that acid house, but it kind of, you wonder where that came from. So that was kind of interesting. Cool ad, if you want to call it that. And finally, this event is going amazing so far. This is Tez Vending Machine. Hope you're enjoying the takeover. After 24 hours, all unsold editions from the event will be burned to reduce supply. And so again, all of the works that you use at the Tez Vending, or that you will get, are from Uxine. Just to be super clear about that. There's still great additions in the machine. Thanks everyone for the love and support. And here was just a very cool GIF from Uxine. Again, kind of using that 16-bit, kind of a 16-bit skull or 32-bit skull. Very cool. And finally, a ton of news today, quote unquote. Gogolitis with another just kind of interesting question from the community here. You know, it says you can use an NFT as a profile picture if you subscribe to Twitter Blue. Can it be a Tezos NFT? And it looks like it is ETH only, but an interesting question. And again, it just kind of feeds into this whole idea that, you know, the lords of the universe might not have as good of ideas as people who are just out there like Gogolitis, who's like, actually, why isn't there a Tezos version of this? Maybe they've discussed it, and maybe it's a technical issue. But anyways, very, very good question. Parsa Mostagim also making sales, this time to Colborne at the Museum of Crypto Art. So auction is live. This looks like Foundation. And you wonder if this is actually part of a curated collection. Current bid 0.6 for his kind of like almost plasticine sculptural looking works, and another one 0.7. So again, kind of a recent discovery over here of Parsa Mostagim. Very cool. And this kind of fit with Parsa's work a little bit from O Future. Never said I wasn't a fan of wild instancing objects and criminal polygon counts. So just referring to, I guess, all the polygons that are made to create this image. So just kind of an interesting work that would seem to hang very well with Parsa's work there. Continuing on, just another kind of interesting Twitter find here. Quite like this one. The contrast here, can we make it bigger? No, we can't. The contrast here between the black and white and this kind of rainbow or multicolor, it just is beautiful. And kind of has almost a woodcut feel, but very gify because it moves at the same time. I just thought a beautiful work from someone I hadn't seen before, John Carborn. And a work in progress from Rosetio, referencing Jeff Koons' balloon dogs, or is that what you'd call them? The balloon, I think the sculptural balloon dogs, or whatever you'd call them, referencing Jeff Koons' work here. A nice way of doing it, and the repetition and everything. So anyways, work in progress from Rosetio. More just references, it's kind of speaking to this whole idea of the sophistication of this scene. You know, again, this whole idea that this scene has nothing to apologize for. It's not like it's not aware of what's going on in the contemporary art world, and it is responding to what's going on as much as I'm seeing in the contemporary art galleries, frankly, if not more so, at least as much. So anyway, Kota Nakazono, whose work we showed a lot, has a portrait here, a self-portrait, artist and art, new profile. And I just thought it was so happy and everything that I just wanted to show it. So we love your work, Kota, and congratulations on your wonderful portrait. I just think it's a great portrait and everything. There's nothing to say here other than very cool work, Kota. Cool portrait in the middle of his art. And so a little more kind of glitch work here, a very cool gem from Klaus, who I'd never seen before. And this is an open edition. It's only open for another hour here, only 8 minted. I'm going to pick one of these up. I'm going to have to speed through the rest of this show. And so anyways, GM, very cool glitch work from Klaus a artist I've never seen before, I don't think. Again, using all of this analog video gear that we've kind of seen Panasonic, Edirol, and Tachyons, and more. Here's another work by Klaus.Tez, and this is on Twitter. I don't think there's any volume here, so just another interesting kind of glitch work here. So very cool. And continuing on, this is on Object. Have you ever played Pong? So let's see what Klaus is up to here. And this is super cool. I didn't even catch this the first time I looked at it. I just thought it was a cool looking abstract glitch work, but it's not so abstract. It's using Pong. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. I might have even started with this had I figured out what this was. A really cool glitch version of Klaus, of Pong. That is available for 2, edition of 15. So a new discovery over here, and probably for a lot of people because this is still available. 5 left. So only 10 people have picked up that super cool work. Dr. Version, thank you for showing up yesterday on the Spaces. And he's putting out work on Foundation soon. And this seemed to be a kind of a different kind of work here, where it's more kind of like a landscape. And again, does a lot of video glitch. And he's also a sound designer and artist who just moved from New York City to Florida. So very interesting work from Dr. Version, who we're following here. Phosphor Operator, who I've seen before. I'm not sure if I've shown the work on this show, The Approach. Let me get... So... wild work here. Again, I think would fit right at home in a contemporary art gallery, wouldn't it? So anyway, speaking of copyright, you can only put. My friend was telling me you can do up to 30 seconds fair use here. So we'll stop it there, but you can see the whole thing on Phosphor Operator's page. The UFO basically lands, and here's Phosphor Operator's object page. So all sorts of mayhem going on here. So anyways, very cool. Also on GlitchForge On Demand, this glitch site. So that is interesting too. Back to Kurt Hustle Collective. They have a new work here. And I don't think...
KHC Enterprises are back and ready to bring you only the best in neural net commercials. With each piece of your highly precious information, we are able to cater to your particular commercial needs and bring you advertisements that won't only speak to your wallet, but also to your soul.
So there you have it. 1-900-1997-900. Call now. And there are other works in this collection. So I think it's just a theory. It's, so don't buy based on this. But I think if you pick that one up, you might get the neural net commercial update chip as a result once you get your upgrade. So if you pay 10 Tezos, if it's still available here, you buy one of these, and then I think you get the neural net upgrade. But I'm not positive on this. So that is super cool. We love the Kurt Hustle Collective. And here's another one, neural net beta chip, commercial upgrade. So always hilarious, always cool from KHC. Just love it. And also put out this. So a lot of work coming out from Kurt Hustle Collective. Clicko, what is the internet? Let's find out with Percy. A WWW adventure brought to you by JNK and Terry V. Episode 1 coming March 2023. So buy for only 1 Tezos, edition of 25. So the fun and the mayhem continue here. 1-Bit Necro, an acquired taste. Really weird stuff in a sense, in a good way, which is why I show it here, at least for me. Strange, unusual artist. I mean, the Game Boy, the flower, and even the comic balloons, the word balloons here with mysterious work as ever from 1-Bit Necro called 1-Bit Horror on Instagram. So I haven't seen any of that on the blockchain. It may be out there, but I haven't seen any. So it's interesting a really mysterious artist. I love that guy. I love that guy. Muji. So we've been looking at Muji's work here. He's working with Deluxe Paint, that Amiga software from, I think, the 80s. And look at this. So a really, really nice work here. Insert Tezos to join Realm chip. So this is 7 now on secondary, sold out. Oh no, it's still on primary. There's still 8 left. I'm surprised. This is a really, really cool work, so I'll probably have to pick that up pronto. 196 pixels light. So you recognize, maybe if you watch this show, you'll recognize this artist, 196 pixels, just a cool pixel artist. And I love the work in progress shots. And so here is Claudia, 196 pixels, building a work here. So that is really cool. So just wanted to pay attention to that. And Bit by Bit, I thought put out a really cool work here. This is a 1 of 1, I think. So conceptual. Really fun kind of work here. Like, again, would be really fun to have in just a contemporary art museum. It really brings the fun to kind of conceptual art and ideas, right? So that is 15 Tezos, 1 of 1. Animation made by, again, more retro tools here, 1988 Fantavision. Really cool work. And continuing on, Tom Bombadil, and this is called The Inventor. So Tom Bombadil continues, edition of 22 for 5 Tezos. And there is one of the characters here, the skull character, with some robots in the background, back to the sci-fi, almost 1940s pulp feel. So that is cool. And this should be out today. This was posted by Manadil on Twitter. The next cat tarot with a beautiful, what looks like Aurora Borealis in the background here. And so the cat tarot continues. And again, this just in my private universe, this had instant classic written all over it. So Manadil continues to execute it beautifully. Now finished, but I can't mint it because object.com had an issue. I will mint it tomorrow, which is Friday, and list it Friday night in Thailand. Hope you're waiting to see and collect. I sure am. Green Ginger, whose work we also looked at recently. So interesting, just kind of abstract pixel artwork, isn't it? An egg and a triangle on a pedestal. So very interesting with a nice gradient in the background. This is now Ripcash is a very successful NFT artist, from what I understand, does a lot of surveillance cameras. So this I just kind of came across on Twitter, fragment by Ripcash today at Noble Gallery, which I've never heard of, but they may be huge. Anyway, so that's just kind of interesting, limited to 32 editions. So anyways, it's always very interesting to see how, NFT work is kind of bleeding into the gallery scene, contemporary art gallery scene. These things seemed like they're going to overlap at some point here. I mean, if you're a gallery, again, if some gallery was saying, Adrian, how do I get involved in NFTs? I would say go to Foundation. Go to Foundation, you can practically start your own gallery there, and it sounds like you can start even bringing in artists from all over, I haven't tried the tools yet, though, so take that for a grain of salt. Françoise Gamma with a cool work here, and it looks like a mask with some thorns in it. So again, just continuing to experiment with some, I guess we could call it pixel art, just original artwork. And very cool, when the mask turns over, the grid disappears. So super interesting work on Versum. And look at this. So this is doing quite well. For 3 ETH, Xerox is bidding on this work by Brolket, who I haven't seen before. And just kind of an interesting kind of, what I want to call narrative work here of someone that looks like they're being maybe forced downstairs, hard to say, with these pixelated burnt faces, almost into the inferno you go. A kind of last judgment of sorts here with a, so how strange. Choose. Going for $5,000 at auction. We'll see if anybody puts in a last minute bid there. Rustic Digital Art, perfect. This is at auction for 1 Tezos right now. It's going to be up for another day, the auction, or another 20 hours or something like that. It's a cool series. It's a one of one, so interesting. So in just boiling it down to some of the elements of this, a crop Mario again, and a question mark from Super Mario. I assume Super Mario 3. My favorite visually. A new work from The Myth. I'm a pillar of positive energy. And just a new interesting work here. It's kind of interesting how the face goes to the size of the mask here. And because you see it even just between the distance between the eyes. So that is interesting, and all sorts of interesting stuff. Is that a Gucci belt? I'm not sure. And just classic trademark Myth clouds and, North Face. Again, a lot of just, classics Myth, iconography. It looks like it's done in Procreate, just by the way that the clouds are rendered here, rather than Microsoft Paint. It's almost like he has two series, like one that's done with Microsoft Paint, and the others that are done on Procreate. Interesting. I almost found this to be like, is this a commentary from GloomTube? I'm not sure what he was saying. I sometimes miss the obvious here, so feel free to help me out. Tezos tourist admit one. I can't tell. Maybe it's just a homage to the Tezos scene. I'm not even sure. Yeah, Die With The Most Likes loves this. I love it too. It's just an interesting work. There's usually commentary in GloomTube, so I'm not sure exactly what it means. Maybe that's all it is. It's like, hey, we're having fun. Let's hang out on Tezos. Speaking of Die With The Most Likes, and I'm going to be on their podcast if everything goes as scheduled, March 8th. Die With The Most Likes and Threesomes have a podcast, so that'll be fun. So anyways, keep you updated on that. And this is hilarious. GM for Dummies, a reference for the rest of us. This is hilarious, and this is why we love Die With The Most Likes, is the satire. And I guess GM in this case, rather than good morning, is good meat. So very cool as always. And here's another kind of harsher one. I wasn't seeing any of Die With The Most Likes work in my Twitter feed. I had to actually look. Now I have the notifications on, so I see them again. Again, Twitter's turned into a bit of a tunnel. So yeah, anyways, shaking right now after months of begging and pleading and tagging in an attempt to be a lifeless brand vessel. Microsoft has agreed to make this the logo for their new NFT platform on which users can buy art for suffering. So revenue, efficiency, productivity. So a brilliant work as usual, a harsh work from Die With The Most Like with happiness in the background. It's satire, right? It's really powerful satire. A couple of works by Complex, our kind of food illustrator. 2 edition drops this month and have exciting news to share. Have a delicious day. I don't think we've looked at this, but we may have previously. So just a coffee and a donut, just kind of done in their magical way here. And here's another one, dropping 75 editions of Yin Yang Soft Serve this Friday with Reviver Art. So again, I'm not sure, is this another platform? I don't know. Is this a, we could look, co-created by Bitman. I don't know what this is. So maybe a lot of you do. Looks like they have a lot of followers. So anyways, interesting. Flora Marquez. I'm really glad we're following this thread with Flora Marquez because she has changed the color with this new month, March 1st. What is it you most unrealizable desire? What is your most unrealizable desire? So this is a super nice one. I think she's still selling these for 15, 17. The price is going up. Well, deservedly for a one of one. They're beautiful. They're super interesting. And check this out. This was February, friends. I've completed 2 months already. I'm enjoying this exercise so much. I hope you like it too. So that is super cool too. She put all of her works from February, this daily visual journal that she's putting out, and it looks super cool. So good for her. Skamra's back with another interesting, I assume, AI work. So again, the color, even just the effect and everything, a crowd of people, beautiful, beautiful work. Skamra, again, you start to think like screen printing, like it might be tricky because it's only 2 colors. It might be tricky to get these areas here, but I think what you do is you just make sure it's like, maybe you rasterize it, or not rasterize, but turn it into little points. And you could put it this way, this is screen printable from my perspective. And again, you put something on this beautiful color, just make gorgeous screen prints. From my perspective here, as always, Tim Nugg, Rationale. And this is also an interesting AI work. I'm not sure I've seen Tim Nugg's work before. Again, kind of looks like an interior looking out onto an exterior. Kind of, again, just kind of an interesting work, remembering what happened before and not being able to remember what will happen after. We embark on a long journey through the recesses of the subconscious. All our efforts may be in vain, but it's worth a try. Just more depth is what I see here. More serious artists. Blue 11 GM with a really interesting, I thought just a really nice AI artwork here. I kind of want to be in this room with beautiful light and this beautiful kind of distortion with the eyes here, almost like it's awkwardly painted a little bit, but that really kind of adds to the whole thing. And again, you almost have that Manet mirror effect that's ambiguous. You can't tell if this is a mirror or if you're looking through, which again just kind of gives it a sophisticated feeling here. And you can see the AI distortions in the hands and everything. So cool work. And look at this. Someone I just saw just clicking on the Midjourney V4 tag. And this is super cool, right? A beautiful combination here. What do they call it? Chinese porcelain? Chinese porcelain tracksuits. So very cool. Right? So how cool is that? So every day here, we are just spoiled with new invention and imagination. And another work by Threesomes. This looks like a biathlon athlete, doesn't it? So again, these are physical. And this looks like it is a photo of a physical card that is trading card that is painted. So really nicely done in yellow here. Nordic biathlon insert. And look at this, 200 Tezos, 133 Tezos as offers, and it looks like they are sent probably to previous collectors. There is a whole lot going on with Threesome's work underneath the surface as far as all the mechanics. He's a pioneer in that respect. So, I don't know everything. Maybe I'll learn soon. Maybe I'll learn next week on the podcast. David Hales is an artist I've been following for years on Instagram. He's a super nice guy. I mean, how many followers? You're still early if you're following David Hales, 2,827 followers. Really great artist. Like, look at all this. He's been going for years consistently with this type of work. Maybe I can convince him to get into the NFT scene. We've never really talked, just like, thanks, Adrian, if I like the work or share it or whatever. Anyways, he just keeps putting out really brilliant work. So David R. Hales, if you don't know about him, find him on Instagram. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.